Welcome back to Middle Ground, and thank you to our sponsor Dashlane for making this episode possible. Make sure you stick around after the episode for a special offer from Dashlane. But first, here is Middle Ground, free speech versus censorship.
It's good content.
Online again. First, don't ever appreciate.
Take for example, like white supremacy. They don't go away because you censored them.
Are they going to stop being a white supremacist? I don't give a. I do feel safer.
Ooh, some of these things are going to be really bad.
Tech platforms play a big part in facilitating
that was already a pretty bad take
today.
Twitter specifically has banned a number of different conservative accounts, not just the president.
Oh, they can do whatever they want. They're private business.
Chat, yes, this is not an opinion, but didn't this guy have to like redo his show or something like that and label it as like humor or something, or like comedy?
Not just the president.
Oh, they can do whatever they want. They're private businesses.
I think that people should be able to say whatever they want online. However, I think that there should also be consequences.
The president of one of the most powerful countries in the world doesn't have access to social media.
I think platforms have a right to moderate content.
As entertainment, not news.
We really have to be able to discern who gets a voice and what they're able to say.
We need people in the conservative field to fight for our right to be conservative.
As somebody who has experienced censorship, it ends up generating these chambers in which these ideas go completely unchallenged.
And everybody kind of has to ask themselves, should everybody really be able to say what they want to say?
All of this is some of their takes, chat, but chat, listen, I feel like sometimes most people who talk about censorship have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And even I'm not the most educated, I think it's really easy. It's really easy to decrypt the whole thing around
I'm Leah Thomas.
Censorship.
I am a writer and the founder of Intersectional Environmentalists, which is an online environmental media hub.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a public policy analyst for San Bernardino County.
Hi, I'm Bennett Kelly. I'm the founder of the Internet Law Center, and I'm an attorney who represents victims of online harassment.
I'm Michael.
Okay.
I'm 30. I'm conservative, and I work in finance.
My name is Jerome. I'm a political science student. I am 21,
That's it,
and
done.
I'm originally from
Done,
Massachusetts.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Joseph.
Guys, this is one of those things where then it's times gonna talk, we're just gonna mute.
I'm an accountant, and I'm working towards my CPA, and I'm a part-time poker player.
The prompt is, the right is more censored than the left.
I mean, we think it's obvious, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming most of us are conservative-ish, in that spectrum, but I think that a lot has happened during the January 6th riots. That's why we see it more, and that's why it's more big of a problem now.
Parler can't even be on the App Store, or, Trump got kicked off Twitter. I mean, he's the leader of the free world, basically, at least for the U.S., and he doesn't even have access to a social media.
Here's my pre-take.
I think
they should have all went there. I think they could all agree on that. But I think there might be some reasons why that is.
there was Twitter, which was left-leaning, long before there was something like Parler.
Well, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think that these echo chambers that are created as a result of censorship are a reaction. They're reactionary. They're not necessarily, they wouldn't exist by themselves if right-leaning people weren't being censored.
Yeah.
I guess I disagree because usually when I think of conservatives, I do think of the party of law and order. So that was definitely something that Trump spoke about often, like there are consequences to your actions. Maybe more people could read the terms and conditions and find a platform that they feel more comfortable with, like Parler, 4chan.
But what Trump said wasn't really as bad as what I've seen other Democrats say.
Well, I guess to not deflect, what should be the appropriate consequences when someone violates the terms and conditions?
I think it should be like a clear punishment, right? It shouldn't be a punishment, like especially for like being kicked off. It should be for everybody. Yeah. But if that is,
the reality is this would make sense in another reality. But I think this is my opinion. Again, I think big platforms literally have like monopoly, dude, and be in everybody's best interest that they were as neutral as possible. So it's a free flow of information and people can make their own mind. You get the information, get their take and their opinions.
That's the solution. That has to be the solution for everyone.
So, No Name, Sean King are two of the most prominent left-leaning activists that I know of. And they have been repeatedly banned from Twitter, suspended from Facebook, Instagram kicked them off. And then when it happens to Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, we hear conservative voices are being, but it's the exact same thing that was happening on the left that's now happening on the right. So I think the problem is the conservative, I don't see you. The conservatives that believe this rhetoric is being suppressed, I don't think they know the other side is dealing with the same thing.
There's no real history of which I am aware of left-leaning creators being blacklisted the way that guys like Alex Jones, James Woods, Donald Trump have been.
Yeah.
Alex Jones was on this journalistic scene for 30 years, and they erased all 30 years of that.
How about the White House YouTube channel?
No.
They eliminated all of Trump's videos.
Guys, the man said Alex Jones.
All of them.
Do you not see the difference though? Because Sean King says abolish the police, and say Alex Jones, for example, says Jewish people own most of the property in America, and if you want to deal with property owners, deal primarily with Jewish people in 2015. So obviously there's a stark difference in rhetoric and consequence even. You call the virus Kung Flu, and then a rise in violence against Asian Americans.
But who called it Kung Flu?
Okay.
President Trump.
Did he say it directly though?
Yeah.
He
Very directly.
tweeted it.
He tweeted
So
it.
And he said it.
there are
That-
reasons for the differences
That was a pretty good take. That's hard to
and
break.
consequences, but I think if we understand that it's happening widespread, because I've seen people on the left say kill cops, permanently banned, permanently done.
Right.
So I think we have to take a step back, remove ourselves from the box that we're in, and kind of, okay, is it happening over here
Tell
too?
video
Here's ideas
who is censored more, liberals or conservatives?
that exist on and offline that are abominable, that I disavow unequivocally, but that I subscribed to when I was younger. When I was younger, didn't understand what I was necessarily looking at, didn't have enough worldview or perspective to know that these were not good ideas. But because that they were censored by the forums that I was espousing them in, I never had the opportunity to have them challenged. I would never have the opportunity to have a conversation about why these were bad ideas.
Okay.
There was no purveyance of the ideological free market, and that's really the only way for these ideas to go away. Take, for example, like white supremacy. People who have those beliefs don't go away when you ban them from platforms. Those beliefs don't go away when you tell them to shut up. Those beliefs don't go away when you punch them in the face, or when you revoke their rally permits.
Yeah, but even though that's certainly true, that doesn't mean that the platform should let people hard spread it and use the weight of the platform to propel it and feel like the ones that are watching are part of it to feel empowered. Some really bad ideologies take a long time to heal, and for people to stop being a certain way, and they have to stop being conditioned to say, oh, that's good, that's a good idea. You're okay to think that. Platforms, when you guys get it?
But when do we draw the line? Because if somebody, let's use Kung Flu, for example, what I said earlier. Let's say it's Alex Jones that says, oh, this is a Chinese virus. They brought it here. And then we see a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. When do we draw the line? Because he would still have the platform.
Yeah, I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing these crimes of the agency in committing them.
Right.
They are doing that, and they frankly would be doing that regardless of whether or not there was somebody who was using inflammatory rhetoric online. That's exactly my point when I say these ideas don't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feed that.
His first take was decent and could have pushed it with the argument, and then now they're saying that, no shot. Now these don't connect at all.
Those ideas, you build the anger.
So for example, if you ban a white supremacist or a huge white supremacist group from Twitter, there's still probably going to be white supremacists chilling and hanging out outside of Twitter.
Right.
But it would be harder for that white supremacist group on that platform to inflict harm towards black folks, right? Because then I do feel safer. So if I'm being harassed by a white supremacist group or someone who's saying that black people don't deserve to live, I do feel safer as a user. Are they going to stop being a white supremacist? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. That's their free speech. However, it does make me feel a lot safer.
I just think the left is now catching more up to us and realizing that the censorship is happening, and then now it's kind of touching their side too more. And maybe with Sean King, you see it. I've definitely seen it pick up more in the past few months on both sides.
With the left, the example I gave was from 2014.
I know.
That's been around for a while, even when you're looking at the civil rights movement. And
it gets complicated when you add a safe space and if safe.
You're looking at the literal burning down of civil rights headquarters and things like that. My parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents in the civil rights movement were continuously policed and harassed for their beliefs, violently so, jailed for their beliefs. So I find it's hard for me to compare when civil rights folks are being imprisoned and killed for their beliefs. However, because a conservative can't use Twitter, I'm supposed to feel bad.
Well, I don't think there's a comparison. What I wonder is whether or not there is a leftist ideologue, someone who is similar to,
wait a minute,
to Alex Jones or someone like that was blackballed from 6 social media platforms over the course of 12 hours.
Right. Who?
On the left, it doesn't really happen that often. Look at what they.
She went a little too far with that one, I think.
Abolish police. Give everybody health care. What in that world? What in that realm would be like? You're done. You don't need to. You're talking about killing people.
So we're saying burn it all down this summer during the riots.
Buildings, but that's not.
But that's
people.
still people's property. You know, they saved their whole savings. $2 billion damages as a country. We need to say that violence is bad. Burning people's stuff is bad.
And killing.
I think we need to give perspective to
unarmed
it.
people
Yeah, it has
is
to be
bad,
context.
too.
Yeah, because we can't say burning buildings is bad and then not understand the reason as to why they're burning. I don't agree with burning them, but we kind of got to give context to both. We can't just say this is all terrible.
I don't want to be anecdotal about this, but at the same
this guy had good takes. That was
they work for everything that they have. My mom, she came from a family of 6, and they didn't have a lot when they came to this country, and each of their siblings, including my mom, they had to work for everything that they have, and they made something.
My thing on this is that anyway you see it, I just think that making blanket statements like, yeah, it's okay to burn buildings or whatever. I don't think that's a good idea to push, just because it needs a bit more structure or whatever.
So we
really
also have rental properties.
It's pretty out there, dude.
So if one of them burned down because of a riot, that's our life savings right there. We put a lot of money into that.
Do you know, so I guess let's take it back to the civil rights movement, because usually I think the future sometimes is a better indicator of what's morally right and wrong. I lived about 10 minutes from Ferguson and was there when those buildings were burning down, and it was incredibly terrifying. But I also remember the business owners who said, I can replace my windows. What I can't replace is a lost child. So hearing those business owners, hearing them, I can talk about them hypothetically and how I hypothetically think they might feel, but I also can talk about people who had their own buildings burned down.
And people who do say that they are on the Black Lives Matter side, of course.
Not necessarily, a lot of them are white.
But at the same time, I go back to business because, I'm an accountant, I care about the numbers and all that stuff. But
and I care about Black lives.
All right,
I care about lives.
We all care about Black lives, but also too, a lot of misinformation was spread about those riots too, with the hands up, don't shoot. They said that he was facing backwards, and they found out that he wasn't, and he didn't have his hands up.
Exactly.
Talking about Michael Brown. That's what started this.
Let's just not
and then they're spreading the misinformation, and then it also.
And also, if you'd like to have the perspective, so I was there that day. Unfortunately, and we can talk about censorship. So after he was killed, he was on the ground for 4 hours. Our radio stations were turned off, and our news stations were turned off. So we didn't have information as to what was going on, which I agree allowed misinformation to spread. Exactly. However, to say that, so no, I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm saying maybe know what the people in that community were faced with before speaking on something that you don't know.
No, it's terrible. That's terrible. The censorship of those radio stations is awful, and I think it contributed to a lot of
misinformation.
Not just misinformation, but pain and destruction that happened within those communities because people weren't being given the information they were entitled to.
Yeah.
I think that in itself is an argument against censorship.
Okay, next question.
Tech companies should be allowed to ban whoever they want.
Sort of.
Wow.
It's a hard one, honestly, because is it whoever, just based on what they...
99% true, just based on how transparent they're going to be about it.
Deem is wrong.
And how if one thing applies to one side, it applies to the other. As long as there's some sort of consistency and transparency, you're good to go.
I don't know.
I worked in a country club once, and they had this strict dress code for employees and even for members. I mean, you could, as long as it's legal.
That's the one caveat. I mean, you can't say no Jews, no whatever.
As long as they have a set terms and conditions, then they can ban whoever they want. They shouldn't just ban whoever.
Well, I think they should be able to say, okay, you're done, even if it doesn't necessarily impede on the terms and conditions.
Basically, I think what we're having is a free market response, saying they let them do what they want and let consumers go where they are, but you have to have a functioning free market where people can go somewhere else.
But they can't right now, though. That's the problem.
Who wouldn't be able to go? So
Parler being removed from the App
It's
Store.
on web services and App Store, and basically it's an antitrust law kind of thing because basically they're trying to create a monopoly between all the social media like Twitter and Facebook. And I think that's what I read off of it.
I've actually talked to an owner of one platform who says they do more to combat hate speech on a per person basis than some of the larger entities, but they still can't get picked up on Apple and the Google Play.
That's my problem.
The market isn't functioning properly then.
Like, okay, should Twitter have the leader of Hezbollah be on Twitter? They're listed as a terror group by the EU and the US.
Well,
he's still on Twitter.
They've been sued over that.
I mean, have they?
And they've been sued over that, but as long as the tweets aren't promoting terror or violating the terms,
also a political party.
That's
Hezbollah is a political party in Lebanon.
Parliament. I know Bin Laden's dead, but if he were alive and he made a Twitter and he didn't tweet anything that violated the terms and conditions, to his point, wouldn't they be able to still stay on the platform?
I don't actually agree with that. Guys, a lot of platforms that have like off-platform rules.
I think that should be
like
fair
Twitch has.
I mean, not necessarily. I want Osama bin Laden.
I agree. They should just ban them.
Maybe match.
I'm just saying that like if they have a set guidelines and set rules, they shouldn't and they follow them. Then why would
guys?
You take them off?
Because if you're a problem and you build a following and you have charismatic followers, dude, you can prevent dog shit, dude.
I mean, if it violates their terms and conditions, I think they can ban whoever they want. But I guess just a hypothetical, if all of a sudden they were like, we don't want to see breastfeeding, so we're going to ban everyone just because we want to. Technically they can because they're a private, business entity, but I guess morally it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I want to agree, but I feel like if I do agree, then I feel like I would be giving social media and tech companies far too much importance.
Right.
People exist without social media. I don't think if you ban somebody that's like a morally egregious act.
I think you'd be shocked the number of people, especially like my age and younger, who get their news exclusively from social media. My worry about it is that the algorithms of these companies do not incentivize nuance.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time you see, what trends is what is getting clicks, and a lot of the time that's controversy.
But sometimes too, though, they artificially put things that are trending up there that really aren't.
Well, the problem is it's the Wizard of Oz.
Reddit
no shit.
Twitter does that too.
We don't know what the...
It's why YouTube has swapped trending to explore up top. That's because it's just not trending.
Those algorithms are, but there are suspicions that
it's just
they
not
are
trending, dude.
Trying to fuel conflict.
Right.
And conflict creates clicks, which creates comments, which creates engagement. And so in some ways, social media is dividing us as much as it is bringing people together in this big platform.
Oh, they definitely profit off of the division too.
When we talk about the terms and agreements, it's interesting because there's nothing that says incitement of violence. But if we do put incitement of violence, then Trump didn't really incite. I believe he didn't incite them because he didn't say, "Oh, go to the Capitol and beat them
break
up."
down the doors and the windows.
But you have people on, during the Black Lives Matter movement saying, "Be restless." Oh, break down stuff. Punch a Nazi in the face.
Maybe if you communicated with those people, you would know that a lot of people were banned. There were mass bannings of Black Lives Matter supporters since Antifa. 2014. I personally don't know anyone who identifies as Antifa. That's usually something that I hear as a talking point on the right. But personally, I know they exist.
Right.
But I don't know much about them.
But what you need to understand is that it's why these companies need to have councils and moderators, because most people are always going to be gray line. Nobody is going to be black and white on terms of service things. And sometimes, if people always glide as much as possible, the further out gray line, and they push it all the time, it's okay. You're banned, dude.
For you to explain.
It's how it is, though.
They are getting banned, right?
I personally don't think so because, I think maybe small people, because
it's gonna be hard to get black on white.
I feel like it's larger people who actually sit in violence, like Maxine Waters. Chris Cuomo, Don Lemon,
Chris Cuomo's inciting violence.
He said who said protests have to be peaceful?
Yeah, I think a good basis point to look at that from is whether or not someone who goes on and incites violence, who is a politician, is being treated differently than like someone who goes on and incites violence and is a protest organizer. I think as a concern, yes, the inequitable enforcement of terms and conditions is a concern to me on whatever side it's on. And I think back to their various examples. I mean, I think one good one is the Covington kids. Are you guys familiar with this?
Of course, yeah.
Where a lot of people were putting things like, oh, we're gonna kill these kids, we're gonna feed these kids into the wood chipper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they weren't really getting banned from it.
Yeah.
And there was postulation in right-leaning circles that it was because those kids were wearing MAGA hats.
Cancel culture is a conversation that has been happening in liberal spaces as well. Maybe we don't have like Fox. I don't know. We have these other stations, but maybe it's just not reported on a lot. However, I do hear so many conversations about cancel culture, forgiveness, and accountability happening in liberal circles as well.
Spreading lies should be protected as free speech.
It depends. This needs to be moderated to calculate, I guess, intent and results and possible harm.
My thing here is that I think we have to be very attentive to who we make the arbiter of the truth.
When I think about lies and like people's lies, you know, I think about people's truths, you know, people's perspective, people's opinions, and you know, that should be protected in that sense, because if you feel something and you believe in something or you have an opinion on something, that is your truth. That is, well, maybe to some people it's a lie, maybe to most of the people it's a lie, but that's your truth and you have the right to say your truth, right? When Donald Trump started this campaign of, you know, the election was rigged, he actually does believe that. That is his truth.
Okay, even though this is kind of correct, I feel like, I just feel like when there's an overwhelming amount of data and it's like a landslide, it's like, dude, fuck off.
Like a lie to a lot of people on the left, and probably some people on the right. But he has the right to say that. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution, there's no law saying.
Well, the question that begs is who says whether it's a lie?
Yeah.
Who decides it's a lie?
Yeah, who's the arbiter, like you said.
If we allow lies to be spread as part of like a free speech, then we have what we have now currently is, I think 500,000 people now died of coronavirus. And a lot of them died on account of just lies. You know, if you wear a mask, you know, you can't breathe in it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to social distance. This is a liberal hoax. So if we protect lies in the realm of free speech, they have real life, real time consequences.
You know, we protect people from certain things that are dangerous. And if I said, take this placebo, don't, because it'll cure cancer, and people did that and died, that would be dangerous.
Theoretically, you would be liable, correct?
I would be liable
If you
too,
use your
yes.
credentials to say, drink this and it will cure your cancer, and someone did that, you would be liable.
But would CBS give me airtime for a commercial for that? No.
We complain as conservatives that there's not enough fact checkers that are on the right. There's Snopes, there's Fact Check, they're on the left, but there needs to be someone to take.
Snopes is on the left?
Oh, yeah.
How does the fact check become?
Yeah, the owner
donates. Last I checked, facts.
Yeah.
Well, if they're actually a fact check.
Well, are there any that you all support that we could like look into, or do you think that's something that like Republicans could try to make more like
There needs to be.
I personally think that Snopes and Politico are by and large very accurate.
Yeah.
I think that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you continue, please.
No, I think that they're by and large very accurate, but I think as with literally any media source, I mean, you can't look at, there's nothing that will be the unequivocal truth.
Right.
There's nothing, you know, so you need to like look at, you need to look at it and know that it's being written from a place of bias. Oh, I mean, sure, like hydroxychloroquine is not gonna like cure you of COVID.
Right,
you know,
but that's not liberal or conservative, that's just true.
That's stupid or not stupid.
It depends.
Right.
It depends. It depends if it's like an opinion, and it also
then.
depends if people, like politicians, love throwing out different statistics and studies
I
and
just wanna
things
see
like
this.
that. And
Some people should not.
I actually want to say this.
Yeah, it's a private company, I get it.
Some people should not have a platform.
Chat, I want to hear the early take about this. Just the early takes about this. Because this is kind of like a trendy question.
No, this kind of goes against my freedom of speech outlook, but like we were saying before, like I don't want to see Hezbollah having, a Twitter feed, or I don't want to see, ISIS having a Twitter feed. there's definitely a fine line. You know, I can't say everyone deserves a platform.
There's this thing called the paradox of tolerance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's essentially saying that if we're tolerant of everybody, if we give everybody a voice, and we're like, all right, everything everybody says is okay as long as you feel that way. If we're tolerant of everything, then eventually our tolerance will be snuffed out by people that are intolerant.
I think if they're causing harm, so like you
That's
all were all saying,
exactly.
that's when, and like serious harm, I don't think that we should encourage that. So whether that's like the illegal
What,
trade
is this like the
of
horseshoe
an
theory?
endangered species, or that's
Wait, was it like the horseshoe theory did?
a terrorist organization, I think as a society we should kind of.
Oh, the ship of
The reason why I didn't come forward is because, you know, I think it goes back to cancel culture in the sense, like people who have been espoused from society because they did something so wrong is that
cancel culture.
Yeah, and you know, people do bad things, and people have committed like terrible things to people or someone or, you know, group of people. But I think forgiveness should be an element, and people should have their chance to get back on their platforms by, I don't know, doing something. I personally don't know what the social media companies would do, but
It's also like, I guess, deplatforming versus banning versus just people not really wanting to mess with them anymore. And usually the people who are really vocal about cancel culture sometimes are people who they still have their platform, they still have their Twitter, they still have their Instagram. They're just mad that society has been like, R. Kelly, we don't like you, or like, you know what, we don't like that you caused a bunch of harm to people.
The other thing I think about with deplatforming is that you rob somebody of their opportunity for absolution. So if Alex Jones were to decide, and for somebody whose platform is their livelihood, not whose platform or who has a livelihood outside of their platform, like J.K. Rowling, when you take that away from them, if he were to suddenly turn around and he were to say, okay, the frogs aren't gay, you know, and like
He was right about the frogs,
these
though,
people
which
aren't
is weird.
controlling the weather, he would have no platform to come and say that, which I consider to be a problem.
Am I the only one that's not,
It's not a
in favor
okay,
of this
it's
whole
not a
like,
complete
forgiveness
garbage
and
take.
come back thing?
It depends, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, because I feel like
The
it depends on the
ostracism.
degree. Yeah, because I feel like I hate cancel culture. I hate the notion
Yes.
that we can essentially exile somebody for
Yes.
what they did. But on the same hand, I still believe that consequences are real. And
Yeah.
if you do something that causes lasting damage, then you need lasting consequences. You know, if somebody is a
the political compass
manslaughter,
is that
you put them in jail for life.
I'm kind of centrist.
If somebody, you know, does something to harm somebody for over a long period of time, you should not be able to redeem yourself and come back to the same place that you were when you caused that harm.
You're gonna have a niche audience like Alex Jones. I'm sure he still has
yeah, he's a
dedicated
niche
followers.
audience.
But to say that everybody needs to forgive you, oh no. Because
Yeah,
I might
I'm
not.
not a fan.
I never
I think there's a way to do like redemption or whatever, you know, a little bit like in the dark and then maybe come back or get unbanned or whatever.
necessarily.
I don't it depends on your religion, it depends on so many different things. But yeah, but I think people are able to come back to some extent, but they're hating on the fact that they're not able to make as much money.
I can think of personal instances where I had opinions
about the
that
money.
were heard out of context, that were rather moderate or something like that, where people had very visceral reactions and immediately things started to come apart.
How dare
And I wished for more of a chance to be heard. And like I'm not going to state these things, but they were not anywhere near the vein of what I was talking about earlier. These were things that were just kind of unpopular and easy to take out of context. And I wished that I had more of a chance for people to hear me out, as opposed to kind of react viscerally from the start.
And I think there's also personal accountability. So for example, if I say something online and a bunch of people, whether they're my followers, especially if they're people who I know and trust and they have a really visceral reaction to it, sometimes I think what's missing on social media is that moment for self-reflection of like, did I say something that may have hurt other people? Can I get curious about it? I might not agree with that person being hurt, but can I at least empathize with it? Or do I want to get back on social media and say everyone is silencing me so then I can have a more niche audience of people who only agree with me? Because at this point, I think that most people just want to feel seen, heard, and validated on the left and on the right. And I think there are a lot of people on the right that do not feel seen, heard, and validated. I'm not going to say that what you all are feeling is a figment of your imagination. I think it's coming from somewhere and needs to be attended to.
You know, you see all these bad things about happening to, you know, Trump supporters, and like they're getting their car keyed or stuff like that. And then my parents are always like, you know, maybe you should just keep it to yourself. And that's a shame, because I thought we lived in a society where we could talk about, you know, differing ideas, and we had that platform to have that free speech and, you know, to have a healthy debate. And so it's kind of, I feel, especially my family and on social media, is that they want to put me into submission to suppress my voice and my conservative opinions.
I can kind of resonate with what you said, not necessarily from a family standpoint, but you know, from a like
so these guys on both sides both have good takes and garbage ass takes.
When somebody sees like somebody like me, just a black man, you know, like prominent in their beliefs about like, you know, the greatness of, you know, pre-colonial Africa, or, you know, just loving kente cloth and stuff like that. There are presumptions made, and it obviously doesn't make people like me feel seen or heard or understood, because you just seen me and made a bunch of assumptions, you know, assumed a bunch of things. Like, I think we kind of have that problem, not only with social media, but just in general. You know, there's biases. It's tough. You know, it's tough to have any different opinion or any different voice.
Let's give it. I actually enjoyed it.
Bump it, whatever you want to do.
Guys, here's what I missed. Okay, I missed the more TNT explosive topics they used to have, and having people that would fight, dude. I missed the brawl of Jubilee.
Skins for Jill.
Hey,
Craig,
Jubilee. If one of y'all motherfuckers are out there and you end up watching the video, dude, listen. A lot of people that watch the videos, they like the information, or whatever. What they liked it is the entertainment. Some of the people that you guys got on these videos, they were so brain dead, but it was pog content, dude. It was content, dude. Because they would fight, they would brawl verbally.